just 3 rounds to go now of the 2015 FF1M season, and it comes to you from the Sepang circuit in Malaysia. One of the hottest and most humid races of the season makes it a sweaty one for the drivers. But I suspect it's going to be a sweaty one for a different reason for my co-commentator Tobias.
Hello.
We've had a few technical issues with this one, but we're up and running now. And
Just about,
yeah. And why it might be a sweaty one for yourself is that both championships could well be decided in this race, with Alonso 34 points ahead of Sebastian Vettel and Tornado 51 points ahead of Meister in the constructors.
Yeah, well, long story short, I think really when you look at the numbers, I'll have to be disappointed if both championships aren't wrapped up today, considering the points standings at the moment. I mean, Alonso, all he needs is a 6th, and I think Meister, they have to not win or something. Anyway.
Yeah, Meister needs to outscore Tornado by 12 points to still be in the chance, and Vettel needs to win all 3 races.
And going on his current form, that's going to take a huge turnaround.
Yeah, you spotted something since the race in Monza, in that Shake and Bake since Silverstone have had the worst scoring record out of all teams.
Yeah, I just took a bit of spare time out and counted it up in my head and just realised that, yeah, Vettel's only had 1 6th place and 5 non-points. Oh.
It's a Tornado front row, with Alonso on pole and Gonzalez second. That's Alonso's 32nd pole. There's a reason for that, which I'll get into in a moment, but we'll go through the grid for now and see the 2 Meisters, 3rd and 4th, Massa and Raikkonen, 3rd and 4th. Hamilton up in 5th for Exolite, and there's Sebastian Vettel up in 6th position in the bumbling Shake and Bake. Cooper Lee 7th ahead of Kevin Magnussen up in 8th, so that's better qualifying for FJR compared to recent races. Then row 5, Daniel Ricciardo and the in-form Valtteri Bottas, having won 2 races on the trot for GRM.
The man in form, yeah.
Absolutely, and Stoffel Van Dorn outqualifies his teammate. He's up in 11th with Roman Grosjean 12th, the highest of the 2 Pedersens. And Jenson Button's up in 13th, and he still doesn't have any points.
You know what, I am sort of half tempted to hire him for the last race if he's still in the pointless category, just to get him out of it. Not a great way for him to be signing off his FF1M career. Nah,
it's quite sad really, but hopefully he should have some fun in the last 3 races. So from 15th down to last, we got Verne, Perez, Hulkenberg, Rosberg, so it's an all Nico row 9, and then Itsuki Yoshida, Antonio Felix da Costa, and a new boy.
That's a new face.
Cristobal Alvarez. So he's been drafted in for myself for this race and Shanghai, and Carlos Sainz last. Yeah, we'll get on to Alvarez in a moment, but we'll go through the race start first of all. Alonso and Gonzalez on the front row. 5 lights are on, and the pause before 5 lights go out. And it looked as if it was a good start from Alonso, a little bit better than Gonzalez, but Alonso's got a good second phase of the start. Now we're the 2 Meisters going into the first corner, and they're getting very close there, but it's the 2 Tornadoes leading so far. Alonso and now Massa trying round the outside of Gonzalez at turn 2, and Gonzalez just about hanging on round the outside at 3, and hanging on so far. So the 2 Tornadoes and Kimi Raikkonen having a look at the inside of Massa into turn 4. That could have been contact.
Well, I remember in the 2013 race, I think it was John-Eric Verne who was racing for me at the time, caused a bit of a pile-up there.
I do remember that, yes, and I think it involved Hulkenberg. I seem to remember, but I might be wrong on that one.
You'd be doing well to remember that, even for you.
I do know it was soaking wet, and Hamilton, in fact, it's Lee who's made the best start out of the top lot. He's up from 7th up to 5th, so he's jumped Vettel and Hamilton, and there goes Alonso, and there goes Gonzalez, the only 2 drivers on softs, and that might have been why you qualified on the front row, but it might well have been because your car's quite suited to Sepang. I
think perhaps a combination of both. I will open up on something with you actually, and that is I am using the middle ERS setting for this race, and seeing my team being the only soft tyre runners, I might have gone a bit too aggressive on that, considering at the last couple of races I've had some reliability issues, although that was using mode 3.
Yes.
So I have turned it down a little bit, but I'm wondering if I've turned it down enough, if I've still gone a bit too aggressive.
And I wonder what mode that Shake and Bake are running, because Vettel lost 7th position to Daniel Ricciardo down the main straight into turn number 1. And
yeah, that's not a great start for Vettel, was it?
Oh, Bottas having a bit of contact from behind by Jean-Eric Vergne. That's for 12th position. Kubica's had a flying start. He's up from 14th up to 9th, so that's good effort.
Yeah, it's a flyer. Sainz started last on the grid. He's already made 3 places up. We know the DRM is a good race car.
Yes, and he's ahead of the new boy Cristobal Alvarez, who I drafted in the place of Benjamin Pryor. It was a bit of a domino effect almost. I think Sainz was about to biff the back of Yoshida as we go on board with Ricciardo, who's moving up to 7th. Is he up the final corner? Yes, he is. It was 6th, actually. So, who has... It's 6th. Yeah, that's fine. I thought somebody might have had a bit of a crash, but I've got me numbers mixed up.
Yeah, Ricciardo using that climax power to full effect.
Yep, and moving up to 6th position ahead of Hamilton. And now it's Sebastian Vettel's turn to hound the Exolite driver around the fast stuff of 5 and 6. Is he going to have a look up to here? That's not advised, and indeed he... Here's my advice. I think he can hear me.
Well, he's got the Gajira of Kubica right behind him as well, so he's sort of caught between a rock and a hard place at the moment, is Seb.
And just behind Kubica is Kevin Magnussen as well. And there's a slight lock-up for Hamilton going into turn number 11, but staying ahead so far. But now he's got a big traffic jam behind him. This is going to get a bit interesting.
Yeah, there is a bit of a queue developing behind Lewis at the moment.
Yeah, and I don't think the Ilmar's the most powerful race engine in the field, but here comes Vettel up alongside the Exolite into, well, before the final corner even, and up to 7th goes the Shake and Bake driver, but he's going to need a miracle if he's going to stay in championship contention. Hamilton versus Kubica, now Kubica versus Magnussen, now Magnussen versus Bottas. It's all concertinaed up.
And Kubica is making a move on Hamilton, is down the inside, although Lewis might get... No, he's got that. And I think Bottas might get through as well here. Oh, not quite.
Well, he did take Magnussen for 10th position, but... And that's a slow exit from Magnussen. Now he's under pressure from Jean-Eric Vergne. This isn't one of my strongest circuits. I remember performing quite poorly here.
Contact.
Yep, there is.
No spin, though.
It's okay, but Van Dorn has just gone round the outside of them, so Van Dorn taking full advantage of that and up to 11th.
What's happened to Vergne there? I don't know what happened to Vergne there. He just lost another couple of places to the Pedersens.
Yeah, but slow traction.
Yeah, maybe the exit going out of that corner after the contact probably wouldn't have helped.
Magnussen retaking Van Dorn for 11th position now. Have a look at Valtteri Bottas, as for some reason Hamilton's choosing to defend. He's locked up going into turn 1, and now Bottas, I think he's going to take that position, gives him space around the outside of 2.
I think, yeah, the Mugen power should get him through.
And that's up to 9th for the back-to-back race winner of this season, won at Spa and Monza.
Yeah, and Hamilton's gone off again, and he just about rejoins, not collecting one of your guys, Magnussen, and he's really driving raggedly at the moment, is Hamilton.
Not doing Exolite's chances of not finishing last in the championship much good, because 4 teams are in a bit of a hot battle for last, and they include myself, Exolite, Mitchell and Pedersen.
I tell you what, that is the most... I think this is the most exciting battle for last place in any FF1M championship. I mean, even last place Exolite have 22 points. And to put that into context, that's worth more than a 1-2 in a single race.
It's been super competitive in the midfield, and to be fair, Andrew Racing are not entirely safe. They might well be, with 31 points in 7th.
Well, I have to say this. I remember, and I think, well, I'll get to that later, because Kubica is going to make contact with Vettel. Vettel's going to go off, and Kubica has spun. I don't think he's going to get going very soon. He's going to have to wait for all the traffic to go by. But did Vettel rejoin? He went wide. He's gone well off, gone to the gravel. And is he going to keep going?
He's struggling out of the gravel trap, but I think he has rejoined in 13th position, so that's made things from bad to worse.
Not ideal nonetheless.
We're on board with Jean-Eric Verne at the inside of Sergio Perez. That's up to 11th position. And Verne he's going to make even more progress at the expense of Grosjean by the looks of it. Out of turn 2 and on around the right-hand sweeper of turn 3, one of Tilke's best circuits, this one.
Former teammates of mine, of course, these two.
And they're keeping it clean so far, going through turn 4. And future teammates, they collided with each other twice at Monza. That was Gonzalez and Perez.
Yeah, that was ironic.
Yeah, and even more so Vettel and Alonso having a bit of a collision. Oh, Hamilton spins!
Hamilton, another mistake, is it? Or was that a failure?
Well, it looks like a tricky set of medium tyres for him.
Strange, like a strange place to go off.
Yeah, he might have gone a bit too quickly going into 7, and a bit wide and losing grip on the AstroTurf, and off he goes. So now he's behind Cristobal Alvarez in last place, as Hulkenberg is on the move.
Not doing X-Elite's chances of avoiding last place any good, that.
Yeah, and it looks as if the medium tyres are not the best ones to have, because the last 4 are all on the mediums, as once again Verne on the move. That's past Stoffel Van Dorn for 9th position. So his mediums are actually working well.
It could just be a coincidence that those bottom 4 are mediums, because I think they've all had problems.
Yeah, probably.
Whether we've seen them or not. Certainly Hamilton has, and Kubica has spun, and Magnussen's in the pits, only lap 13.
So that's a very early first pit stop for him.
Only had 1 lap of fuel in the tank coming in. I always get worried about this because my time playing Grand Prix 4, I've seen so many times where the AI run out of fuel. They don't make it to their pit box in time, and they stay out too long. But that mostly happens towards the end of the race. There's 3 cars very close there.
Yeah, one of them is Alvarez, his teammate. It was a lot of fuel that Magnussen has taken on, so he's going to do half the race in this middle stint, as Alvarez versus Yoshida going up the inside of 4. It's a tight one, but clean so far. 2 rivals, actually, in the 2013 FF1M Championship, as Magnussen looks to make some sort of effort to get past his own teammate, who's choosing to defend. That's not wise.
Thought for a moment there was going to be contact there.
Yeah, I feared for a moment. I mean, yeah.
Well, I've already experienced seeing my guys crash into each other live.
Yeah, and the response of that was quite funny, according to me.
Wasn't so popular with others, but yeah.
I can see the funny side. And Rosberg into the pits.
Might have needed to put like an 18 or plus certificate for that one.
Oh, the last commentary needed an 18 plus with Courtney's sponsors. And Rosberg into the pits as well, so 5.6 seconds. Again, a lot of fuel taken on board for this middle stint, and not very competitive so far, the 2014 Malaysian Grand Prix winner. But who knows what this middle stint can do for him, as the 2 FJRs go back into battle with each other, and Alvarez still being a bit bolshy.
For a moment, I thought Alvarez was going to cut across then, and Magnussen was going to rear end and spin, because that's a very common sort of collision and aftermath in Grand Prix 4.
Yeah, I would not have been impressed if that happened. As Magnussen now on the move once again, that is versus Jenson Button, former teammates from last year, and Magnussen takes the place.
Fairly clean move that was.
Yeah, and I'd probably say I'm unlikely to score points in this race, because even though Magnussen qualified well, I am running just the Mode 1 for this race. But Shanghai, Mode 3, so we'll see what Magnussen and Alvarez can do then.
Nice yellow pit crew for the red and white liveried Andrew.
Yes,
which is obviously, well, it's the Toyota livery, isn't it? I think it's the 2006 Toyota.
Being serviced by Pedersen Mechanics. It's around the first corner, so Ricciardo stayed ahead of Magnussen on that pit stop, as we saw a brief look at some lap times from Kubica as he makes a move on Carlos Sainz. That is for 9th position, going through the final hairpin, still side by side, but Kubica takes the place. So both Gujeras performing quite well in race trim.
When they're not colliding with other drivers, that is.
When they're not colliding with other drivers, and Kubica's already had won this race as Sainz going back at him. But as we switch to Daniel Ricciardo, now on the back of Kubica.
Ricciardo's on fresher tyres.
And Kubica is not. So it's a slightly one-sided battle, and Ricciardo's actually the first of the runners to have pitted so far, but he's about 50 seconds off of the lead, so Ricciardo might jump back up to 7th, I think, as Kubica has another look at Sainz, going into 7 and 8.
I find that most races, it's not the most ideal strategy to speaking of pitting, Alonso's in, but it's not ideal to pit earlier because you end up in traffic, more likely to anyway, and then therefore have collisions, and also it means you're going to be on a older set of tyres for when the guys you're racing with later do their pit stop.
Yes, more than half the field have pitted as Cooper Lee now makes a pit stop, as Daniel Ricciardo shapes up for a look at Kubica going into the final corner, moves to the left, Kubica defending a bit.
Oh, there's going to be contact. Oh no, Ricciardo spun round.
And I think Sainz was heading into the pits as well, and did Kubica use that opportunity to make a pit stop as well?
Just judged that to perfection, didn't he? Like just one little sort of fly in the ointment as he's going in the pits, just, moves across Ricciardo and spinning him.
Yeah, he's nudged me. Why not? Let's pit, as Gonzalez comes into the pits as well. So Massa as well.
That graphic on the bottom left concerns me. Oh, double stack. What's that all about?
Yeah, Meister have messed that one up.
I think I know the reason. It's to do with the fuel load at the bottom left, because they were both Gonzalez and Massa were on 0, and Raikkonen was on 1. And I think it's kind of, how can I put it? Oh, there's a climax failure.
That's Nico Hulkenberg, who's had a dreadful season. And
yeah, I've had a few. There's been I have to admit, there have been quite a few climax failures of late. Maybe it's because oh my god, Raikkonen's race has been completely ruined there.
Yeah, we saw this last season actually with both Willows. We saw Rosberg coming in, and then Fernando Alonso following suit, and ironically Joseph Willows was on hand to witness that.
I vaguely remember that, actually.
Yeah, as Bottas has just taken Magnussen for 5th position now.
Went round the outside on the straight there.
Yeah, good impressive move from Bottas. That's customer Mugen versus Judd manufacturer not running higher engine modes.
I was literally going to ask what your engine mode was, since I revealed mine to you.
Yeah, mode 1 for this one. I was just looking for reliability. Preparing for 2016.
Meanwhile, Vettel's down in 16th. He's even further down than after when he rejoined from his spin. I don't know what's that all about.
Yeah, that must be a late pit stop, as Ricciardo tries the outside move on Magnussen, but Magnussen forcing him to the outside, being aggressive with his defence, and so far holding on to 6th, but it looks as if, while he is up in the points at the moment, that early pit stop might not have been the best strategy for him to take, especially as he took on pretty much half a tank.
Yeah, as I was saying, that's the risk you run pitting earlier, going for a shorter first stint. You're more likely to end up in traffic, and then therefore, you increase your chances of colliding with other drivers. It's as simple as that.
Yes, although he has got 10 seconds back to Romain Grosjean, who probably was another one to pit. In fact, that's quite impressive from Romain, having qualified... Where's he qualified? 12th. And I don't recall him having a great start, so He's done well to get back up there as Ricciardo now up the inside into turn 4. Magnussen still trying to hold on, but Ricciardo now giving him the shoving treatment onto the curb. And Magnussen down at 7th, but who knows, it might still translate into some points.
Meanwhile, Kimi Raikkonen's coming back through after a disastrous pit stop. A complete strategic balls up from the Meister pit crew.
As he takes 9th position away from Romain Grosjean, so beginning that recovery drive as Vettel tries to begin some sort of recovery drive of his own. That's on Rosberg indeed.
Oh, that was almost contact there.
Nearly contact between the two Germans.
Both of which are having a really poor race, aren't they? Oh, and Kubica is going to have another spin.
Even worse for Kubica as he has his 3rd collision of the day. And Jensen's
going to be remaining in the pointless championship. I think he was going to anyway, unless there was like a huge wealth of other retirements. But unfortunately, he is one of the retirements.
Yep, and becomes the 2nd retirement of the race. Again, suspension problem. That was the issue that Nico Hülkenberg had as well. Bottas versus Cooper Lee for 4th.
I really wanted it to be sort of engine related, so I could make that, that Ilmore's looking ill again remark. But it's just with it being suspension, I can't really work.
Probably not, although the engine... Yeah, it's that heavy, it's wrecking the suspension to bits.
Good. Yeah, that's a good theory, that.
And here's Bottas.
We're on lap 25 now, with 30 laps remaining.
And at the moment, Alonso leads by 11.2 seconds from Thomas Gonzalez. We've got Felipe Massa up in 3rd. And then this battle for 4th between Cooper Lee and Valtteri Bottas. That's the wrong side.
It's going to be contact. And is Bottas going to spin? No, he isn't. He's going to hold it. Lee is also keeping going as well. So not as bad an aftermath as I thought it would be.
Now, somehow neither of them spun. And Lee's having a good race this time around, up in 4th position. He did block the copybook a little bit in Monza twice when a collision with Nico Hülkenberg, earlier on teammate. And then
his future teammate.
And then what on earth was he doing with Lewis Hamilton as well? That was ridiculous.
That was quality. I said afterwards in the race, he probably knew his engine was about to go, so the least he could do was block one of Mitchell's main rivals and play a hand whilst he was still going, knowing that his car was doomed.
And ironically, that seemed to help Benjamin Pryor up into the points, as his teammates coming under pressure from Jean-Eric Vergne, 8th position. Now 7th position, Jean-Eric Vergne.
Yeah, Vergne seems to be making cleaner moves than his teammate. He seems to be, getting into wars with all the drivers at this current rate.
And Magnussen defending aggressively from Kimi Raikkonen, going through 7 and 8, now into turn 9. Raikkonen not close enough this time. Raikkonen on the hards, Magnussen on the mediums.
Speaking of the hard tyre, I'm kind of surprised that Shake and Bake have opted to put the hards on Vettel's car, but at the same time, I kind of realised that using the soft tyres, especially if they're not developed well, leads to greater mistakes. And I think we saw in the last 6 races, not just the reliability of the Shake and Bake, but also Vettel making a lot of mistakes. And I think most of them were using the soft tyre, and I think Courtney must have, turned it down a peg on that front.
Yeah, and realising that both championships are probably out of reach for him now, he's looking at development, or a little bit more development for 2016, maybe.
It would be the sensible thing to do.
Yeah.
I could just come out Toto Wolff like right now and say like, oh well, Vettel could come back, and my guys could retire, and but it's the sensible thing as Raikkonen gets past Magnussen. It's the sensible thing to do to start development on next year already. Although it looked like it was going to be a 2-horse race for the championship at the halfway point. Vettel was in a really good run of form, and here he is going to make a move on the Willows. That would be Van Dorn for 10th place, and didn't quite make it that time. he was on a great run, wasn't he? 4 races in a row, and he won them before the halfway point, and then it all just went completely tits up. There's no other way I can describe it. After that,
yeah,
to put it lightly,
and always made contact. So it's just gone from bad to worse. Although at least this time he's still pointing the right way.
Yeah.
There's a strange parallel, actually, for this season in 2011, because it was once again Alonso in a tornado, seemed to have the more reliable package, whereas it looked like Hamilton and Pedersen had by far the quickest, but also by far the more unreliable one.
I vaguely remember the 2011 season where I think it was the one where I lost by 2 points in the constructors, but Alonso did win the drivers' championship at least. Although Pedersen nabbed the constructors off on the last race, and I think that was Vettel's going to make another move here on Van Dorn.
Oh, Van Dorn trying to hang on round the outside. That was brave, but futile.
Yeah, I remember about the 2011 season. I think it switched from Grand Prix 4 to Grand Prix 3 somewhere in the middle of that championship.
Yes.
Plus there was that was during when the hiatus was starting to appear. As Kubica manages to get past the driver without making contact. That's something. Gonzalez is pitted. I was just wondering why Gonzalez dropped to 5th. He's pitted, which is interesting because I think Alonso pitted first between my 2 drivers in the first stint.
Yes, I think that was correct.
And Raikkonen's going to make contact with Verne, and he's going to spin. Surely, yeah. He's going to quickly get back going again. That was a nice recovery, but could have definitely done without that spin.
And still rejoined comfortably ahead of Magnussen, who has now just made his second pit stop, and he's trying to barge his way past.
He's actually barging him off the circuit, wasn't he? Have some of that, Nico.
Now Magnussen's back in the points. We've skipped to lap 42.
And it was the other Nico as well.
And I think that was Raikkonen putting a lap on Itsuki Yoshida in front of this battling duo for the final point. Verne round the outside. Ooh, nearly contact between Magnussen and Verne. Once again, they made contact in Monza, and then Verne got himself caught up in a 3-car pile-up at Lesmo.
Yeah, that was quality. You could argue that was one strong contribution that led to Pryor scoring his points.
Yeah, he was going for it then, and yeah, I mean it was a bit of a racing incident in the end, but I think Verne was.
That's contact again with not the first time with these two, and Vettel's going to spin as well this time. Careful. I saw one of my cars come round. I was like, "Oh, please, just maneuver around."
I think it might have been Alonso.
Yeah, like I said, Kubica has been massively in the wars this race.
Yeah, he's certainly had a bit of a. He's got his teeth stuck in there as Kubica, and all for the wrong reasons. As here's Alonso exiting turn number 11, now into 12.
Lap 53. It feels like this race has actually flown by.
It's gone quite quickly, hasn't it? Yeah. Quite a few incidents, but nothing too major. It looks as if we do still have 20 runners, if Yoshida is still running.
Well, unless the top 10 somehow all blow up or something, or there's like a huge downpour and Vettel's just in the right place at the right time to switch to wets and everyone else is like tiptoeing out there. I can't see Vettel remaining in the championship hunt any longer mathematically.
Yeah, it looks as if it's a bit of a done deal for both championships with your guys running first and second at this stage.
I think Spa was where it was a done deal.
Yes.
Without bragging or anything, I think Spa was the race where it was a done deal because that was a big opportunity for Vettel to score maximum points and to close the lead on Alonso, and with 4 races to go at that point, it would have made things a lot more juicier. But like many times before this in this season, his car let him down with just how many laps was it? Like 3 or something?
Yeah, 3 or 4 laps to go. His puncture.
Wasn't long, was it? No. It's been a very tough season for Sebastian as the reigning world champion. I mean, he's had the pace for majority of the season. Certainly the car has been there, but yeah, just the consistency. It's literally been either win or busts 99% of the time.
Quite literally, yes. And with once again Shake and Bake not in the points, it's worth keeping an eye out for GRM if Shake and Bake.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I tell you what, the way things are going, Shake and Bake, Gajira, well, Vern's going to get a couple of points, and Bottas 5 points for GRM as well. I think, you know what, Shake and Bake, they could end up, the way things have gone, they could end up finishing as low as 5th.
Yeah, a GRM will jump Shake and Bake with Bottas's 5 points, jumping them 1 point ahead.
I think GRM with Bottas alone will finish 3rd.
Yes. Unless Gonzalez can do something about that, because he is ahead of Bottas in this race at the moment.
Just waiting,
sorry, I was just checking some stats.
Silence there. Just going around these last few corners. I've seen it before where a car is blown up just before the start-finish line, so I'm not going to, let it soak in until Alonso's crossed the line.
So you're going to let me do the commentary for this one, or shall I let you commentate on this?
No, that'd be too cringy. Go on, you do it.
So he's approaching the final corner now, and this has been a dominant drive from Fernando Alonso from pole position, utilising the only team running the soft tyres for this particular race, and to win his 3rd championship in his career is Fernando Alonso. Well done, Tobias. And that's a Constructors' Championship as well, so double well done.
Woo!
Win number 31.
I just want to say, Fernando Alonso, you are a triple world champion. Something we probably won't get to hear in real life.
Ooh.
Nothing cringy about that, or sort, yeah.
And there's confirmation of the race results. Alonso first from Gonzalez second, and Massa making another podium for Meister. Valtteri Bottas takes 4th, having started 10th on the grid, so good drive from him. And good drive from Cooper Lee as well. That's his first points, I believe, since Silverstone. And crucial for Mitchell if they're to avoid finishing last in the championship. Kimi Raikkonen, Jean-Eric Vergne and Daniel Ricciardo completing the points.
That's very good points for Mitchell with Lee's 5th place. I don't think that result alone will get them entirely safe, because you never know what can happen these last 2 races. Any of the teams below them could get a big result and then overhaul. We've seen so many freakish races in FF1M over the years. Anything's possible.
Absolutely, and with Pedersen, X-Lite and FJR not scoring points, that's not good news for them. So at the moment it's now 46 points, the gap between Alonso and Vettel, but that's an unassailable lead now, and Kimi Raikkonen...
I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. So, I tell you what. If you showed me this table after Road America 7 races ago, I wouldn't believe you. I'd think you're dreaming. There was no way I would. If you told me Vettel was only going to score 3 points in the last 6 races, no chance would I believe you. So I'm very well chuffed with that, with how the last 7 races have gone. I couldn't really ask for more.
Absolutely. So now you've got 2016 to look forward to, but we've got 2 more races to go. And look at that battle for last. It's now 5 points, but it's now Mitchell up in 8th position.
Yeah, like I said, that result was very good for them. That's made them jump up a couple of places. Yeah. great stuff. I couldn't ask for more. That's what I can say.
As for myself, I'm banking on Mode 3 in Shanghai, which is the next race. So, from myself and the new world champions, we'll see you then.
Going on an early holiday, I think.